Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CMA Panel Podcast America's Edition, Episode 13. Today, we'll be talking about how you will realign to baseline or stick to the baseline, some of the benefits and considerations. And with us, we have our largest CMA panel in the history of the podcast, which is, again, 13 episodes so far. But I'd like to do a round table. So, Jacques, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Nice being here. So I'm Jacques. I'm based in Luxembourg in Europe. I work for a customer and I've been doing ServiceNow stuff since 2008.
Thank you. And Mike.
Thanks, Chris. So Mike Rakvika, based in Denver, Colorado. I'm one of our senior managers here on our customer excellence team at ServiceNow. Been a customer partner here at ServiceNow for about 8 years of experience now. I'm glad to be here.
Shalini.
Good morning from Sydney. So glad to be here. I'm Shalini. My journey started with ServiceNow around 8 years ago as a customer, and then became a consultant at a partner, and now at ServiceNow, leading some amazing architects in ANZ.
Josh.
Josh Sutton. I'm with the Product Excellence Group, architect, or as the title says, technical director. Been with ServiceNow for just over 3 years. Prior to that, I was a partner and then a customer first, and I've been on since Eureka, so it's about 2014.
Oh, wow. And Will.
Hey, I'm one of our certified master architects at Accenture. I spent the previous 10 years of my life with Accenture Federal Services. I started doing ServiceNow things around 2015, but now I'm over on our commercial side helping out a lot of our large regulated customers, or our ServiceNow business group, risk and security lead.
Nice. And Jeremy, last to join, but definitely not least.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. So Jeremy Duncan, I am my technical title here at ServiceNow is lead solution architect for our banking industry. I work with two of our top Fortune 40 banks. And I started as a customer 15 years ago. So pre-Aspen, I think summer 2011 was my first release. Moved into the partner ecosystem for a while, and I've been here at ServiceNow almost 7 years. So it's been a fun ride. Love the platform, clearly, right, with all the wasabi green in my wardrobe. Thanks for having me, Chris. It's good to be
Happy
here.
to. Okay, so just a bit of housekeeping. If you're watching live, feel free to ask us a question in the chat. Give us any feedback you want in comments, and we will wait for whoever's speaking to address them, or wait for whoever's speaking to complete, and then we will address them. So this is meant to be an interactive back and forth conversation, so feel free to participate. But to kick us off, I think that we should start with a basic definition. And Jacques, I'd like you to share with us how you define baseline, or what do you mean by baseline?
That's a very tough question and usually a hot topic debate. I guess the way I would say it is that it is baseline as long as you don't get in the way of normal upgrades and you can seamlessly, move from versions to versions. The minute you start messing around to a point where it's becoming difficult or it's becoming a pain, you're no longer baseline. But I don't have like a strict definition, which is you're not allowed to touch anything. So pretty flexible, I'd say.
Okay, does anybody else want to expand on that definition?
I'm
I
happy
just
to
also
jump
want
in.
to, one more thing, sorry. Yeah, you can. I just want to also clarify that baseline is also synonymous with out of box, or OOB. So just make sure that if you hear us use either term, ServiceNow's kind of gone to using baseline more. So that's why we're trying to adopt.
It sounds a lot cooler than out of the box, honestly.
It does,
Yes.
and it rhymes with realign to baseline.
Baseline.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mike.
I think it also, I actually do really love the term baseline instead of out of the box, because out of the box means you're only working with like what you get. The term baseline, really, to me, the importance is driven by like the purpose, which is to adopt like products and the functionality, right? We don't have to build everything. ServiceNow is building a lot. So as long as we don't interfere with, adopting the products, using the features as they are, and driving value, I think that's baseline to me, because that's the whole purpose of removing our, technical debt.
Yeah, it's the foundation.
Nice.
I mean, it's the starting point. It's your baseline of those things. It's not out of the box in the sense of this is all you get. It's a good point.
Now, my dad's a retired mechanic, so I love a great car analogy. And Shalini said that she's got one. So go ahead, please.
I do. Thank you very much. I was thinking an analogy to put it into perspective is you buy a car, it's straight from the manufacturer, out of the box, meets the standards, the road rules, tested end to end. And I see that as an out-of-the-box capability. And then you start looking at configurations where you've got some factory-approved options. I'm not a very good car person, so you might want to add new trims or adjust the tires, etc. So
And
those
a big
would be
wing on the back.
configurations. Correct.
Yeah.
But
I'll
then
take that
with
further, Shalini, is you can take them off and you can resell it as a car, right? I mean, so you're sorry, I don't mean to steal yours, but I love it.
And then when you think about customizations, you want to really rev this up. So then you start adding engines and welding things onto this car and you really change it. So I think that is where we start going into the land of customizing this car.
And let's face it, and to further pull on that thread a little bit, if I might, Chris, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Some people will buy a car that they want to upgrade, and some people will buy a car that they just want to work the way it is. So for me, owning 65 automobiles in my driving history, I can speak to the fact that when I bought my Tesla Model Y, I never thought I would have to change a thing. I'd just get in it and would go. As long as it has juice, it would go. And I love that about my car. But after putting 3 sets of tires on that car, because of the staggered stance and all that, I said, nope, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm putting a square setup on my tires and I'm going to rotate and balance them and I'm going to take care of them, because what came out of the box was not good or tenable for me. Right. But what I love about that car is I don't have to upgrade. I don't have to go do more things. It just is what it is. Right. I enjoy it for what it is. So great analogy, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. Really like that. So we'll move into now kind of a warning that we've started to see emerge, because in the last 18 to 24 months, I've seen a lot of projects come across my desk of, we are too customized. We want to move from brownfield to greenfield, or we are too customized. We want to roll back or take those extra parts we put onto the car. And some of them have this philosophy of, we want to stay out of the box, and that can become a big blinder. And then in addition to that, a lot of times it is, we want to stay out of the box unless it impacts me. So then they end up customizing as well. I know, Mike, you had kind of started with this train of thought before we went live. So if you wanted to open with it, that'd be great.
Yeah, and I think I just love what Jeremy said, and I'm going to call back to what he did, right? He knew the maintenance that he needed to do, buying a new set of tires, implementing a new set of tires. He knew how to maintain them, how to work them into the process, and ideally they're driving value for him, right? They're providing a purpose. He knew the implications and he knew the why behind what he was doing. I think the idea of out of the box removes the criticality of saying, well, why are we wanting to do something different? Is it a need? Is it a regulatory requirement? Do we just not like it? I think we start to really root ourselves in the why, and the value can help you decide when not to stay out of the box. And if you just say only out of the box, I feel like you're losing functionality from doing that. The platform is a platform at the core, and we have a digital product mindset to adopt when it makes sense, and we don't want to inhibit the product, but we can still enhance the product. That's why we have such great developers throughout our ecosystem, such great partners.
That's great. We do have a couple comments to get through. So Kelly Fry says to Jeremy that she's on her round 3 of Tesla Y tires as well. So she feels the pain. And then,
I can help you with some recommendations there, Kelly.
Cohen has said that baseline or out of the box is a discussion about adopt versus adapt. So if we can pivot a bit from that, and then we're going to come back to this other piece. So does anybody want to comment on this?
That's exactly where I was going kind of before we started, Chris, that I'd say there's kind of 2 qualifiers of know what you're changing if you are going to change. There's a lot of products that are built for purpose, right? There's intent behind the design. It's not just, this is what we did and you can, tweak it any way you want. There's systematic changes that will break things. And so understanding that, what does that adapting mean? And then think about that intent still. Are you going to adopt it because it was built with intent, and maybe thinking about your processes or the way that you are doing things, and taking that adoption first and understand, will this actually work for us? Does it do better than what we are today? That's one of the key I'd say comments that I always bring. Think about that first. Mike said it. We'll all say it. We've all heard it hundreds of thousands of times because that's what they drill into our brain with CMA, the value. So if it is not adding value, it's because this is where we did it. This is how we did it. That's not a value prop, right? So adopt versus adapt. I think we can talk and do a whole podcast on that one, right?
Yeah, perhaps. Thanks a lot for the question. I want to move back over to Jeremy and what we were discussing before about how we want to stay out of the box can become a bit of a blinder.
Yeah. And really just to kind of pull on that thread of being okay with adapting, right? And then bringing on some of that. For those of you who have taken the course that I teach in the Certified Master Architect program around architectural considerations for success, we get on this topic of configuration versus customization, right? What do we give you out of the box that we want you to configure, right? And then what would be considered that customization, right? And what the differences are. And one thing I encourage our master architects globally is that customization is okay if you understand the risks that are there. We want you to use our platform. We understand that sometimes maybe the product out of the box is only going to hit X% and it's not 100, right? And so we want you to use your imagination. Fred Luddy had that idea in mind. I mean, I think anybody on this call can think about building CSM before CSM was ever a thing. How many people have built a CRM product before CRM was a thing? Does that mean that, oh no, we did the wrong thing, we built it before you did? No, it means you innovated, you got benefit from your platform. How much did you save in dollars earned back that you didn't have to have lost in process because you went ahead and built that? Does that mean that you can continue down that path if we have something better? Those are just decisions that you have to make. And I just want to remind everyone two things. One, we have a customer success playbook that helps you as architects, helps you as customers understand what's risky, what's not, and just go into it knowing what that is, right? And if you don't know, get an architect, ask someone that has years of experience to help you. And two, if you have great ideas, we have an idea portal, right? We even recommend our own employees here at ServiceNow, right? And we definitely recommend it to our customers. Of course, we have internal channels, but it's there for everyone. Submit ideas, right? Let's get that on the roadmap, because you may not. And by the way, I'll tell you this just from internal knowledge. If our team that looks at those ideas, and please don't be discouraged if they say, hey, it's not on the roadmap for now, just know that that's in their reporting dashboard. And as time goes on, as if they don't have that as a data point for them to say, hey, I've had 1,000 customers ask for the same thing, right? That may be the difference between getting a feature release than you saying, man, I wish ServiceNow had this, or I wish it would do this. We'll just go build it ourselves. Start with that idea, put it in the portal, because you never know. You may be the 1,000th person that they were waiting on to put that idea in there, to put that into the next release. So hopefully that helps. But I'm a huge proponent of doing what's right, but understanding the risks that go with it. So.
And all of the cascading impacts. So when we're looking at deliberate customizations, I'm also focused on, do I have to impact the clone or change any of my clone settings as a result of this? Do I have to plan for this in my next upgrade and everything moving forward if I'm actually touching an out-of-the-box artifact? And all of those types of implications that come through with these deliberate customizations have to be put into your value calculation, because it does turn into real dollars. I've got one customer that does nothing but scoped apps. Their upgrades fly by because they really use everything in ITSM out of the box. And then everything else is an out of the box or is customized scoped app. But what they have on the flip side of that is a ton of upgrade UAT that they do, because they have to go in and build and test and complete the UAT part on all of these different scoped apps. And we're now looking at an ATF strategy to kind of shrink that calendar time for them.
Man, I love
We
some
do
of these
have a
comments coming in. They're so good.
Yeah. So, okay. So we've got Alex. I mean, he's being a comedian. So, hi, Alex. Thanks for joining us. Let's see if I can find it here. I don't think his showed up. Oh, there it is. So he's talking about implementing something that's out of the box. He's guaranteed to get value because he just has to, quote, turn it on. And while that is a bit, facetious, it is actually kind of true in some cases. If you can turn it on, put in your foundational data and get going, what you can actually gain from that is learning what customizations you may want to make rather than guessing. We've all been in those things. Well, I don't know what our process is, and let's just guess what the users need. Solutioning without a use case is something.
Don't get me started on co-creation and human-centered design. That's
okay. We got a bunch more. So Jeremy has talking about customization is the real value for each customer. It often doesn't survive the test of time, but removing it prematurely is not ideal for the stakeholders who rely on it. Great points. Thank you, Jeremy. We have a quote. Cohen, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So the great thing with ServiceNow is that you can do anything, and the bad thing is that you can do everything. Yes, it is
over and over.
a very sharp double-edged sword that sometimes the handle can be the blade as well.
I saw a great somebody posted a double-edged sword on LinkedIn recently. I wish I remember who it was. Oh yeah, nice. Great analogy.
Yeah, going heavily custom is like building a beautiful maze. Yes. And knowing the only way out and trying to have someone come in later and reverse engineer things so that they can build upon it. Because I find also it seems like the more customization you do, the less solution documentation there is. Is that just my feeling?
No,
or
I was actually going to point that out with that comment there is if you change something, make sure people know about it. Right. And that goes to our product teams as well, that they release notes. They have these things. They have the, sometimes the intent is lost. So technical documentation, I say, is not the only reason. Establish the business requirements of why you made that change as well, so that people don't have to say, I don't know why we did this. We've just always done it. You have that kind of tangible business reason behind those technicals as well.
And Josh, if I can encourage our MVPs in the crowd, if you see something missing in product documentation, if you feel like you can add value and help people, get on the community, start talking, get some more points, get those likes, because I'm telling you, it's a great resource. A lot of our outbound product management team put stuff out there to give clarification to that stuff. And we could use you too.
I think also like just taking the approach is, we often build solutions to solve problems, but we don't always start to understand why it's a problem in the first place. Like take that step back to Josh's reason, but like sometimes things aren't actually a problem. It's the way that we look at it. And maybe there's a feature that does it differently. We don't need to solve for it. We need to fit for it. And that's where it's a little different.
Well, that's why the governance is so important, right? So you have a place to discuss why we need something. Have we gathered the proper business requirements? Are we going to build it? Do we have technical guidelines? And if you decide to customize, at least once you decided it's going to bring value, at least you have a common way of doing it. And if you have a technical governance board, you can make sure that we are using technology or patterns or whatever that have been commonly agreed by the company. I think it's super important once you decide to go ahead with customizations. The whole governance package, demand management, the whole thing.
One of the nice things about starting, if we're talking about baseline and architecture on those things, is that you start with a common architecture, right? You know what you're starting with. You have that common architecture. And when we talk about things like that, you have CSDM and you have a harmonized CMDB, like all of those things are already put there for you to step off from. So it's not necessarily a dirty word to step off and start customizing from there or configuring from there. But, if you've got that architecture in place already, that's really, it's sort of like your competitive advantage to start from there and then go up.
Not to start a dirty topic here, but anybody who's certified, we all have to take CSDM, CMDB foundations and pass that course. So if you haven't yet, friendly reminder, you've got till the end of the year
to do that, but you've got till the end of June to take it for free.
Yeah,
indeed.
So for those that are not part of the ServiceNow mothership, you still can get a free certification that is foundational. And yes, if you don't have it by the end of the year, all of the ones that are built upon it, ITSM, I think there's 7 something like that,
I think it's all the technology workflows, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
anything like that will no longer be valid, and one cert to kind of rule a bunch of them. Maybe not them all, but I tried to shoehorn a Lord of the Rings quote there. Okay, so we've talked about what we consider baseline. We've also covered how we want to stay out of the box, as a customer can sometimes become a blinder. Let's move now into what I like to call, well, what a lot of people like to call now is business smart customizations. And this is another one from Mike. So why don't you kick us off on here, and then we'll move over maybe to Will or Jacques.
Yeah, so I think one, just like leading with intent. So business smart means like we're solving a problem or giving functionality for the business. We don't just build to build. I think the second piece is the smart is around not interfering with the other pieces of the product. And I think Josh made the analogy earlier, being able to undo it, right? I think that's the thing, is don't create a web. There's a lot of features and technology in ServiceNow that makes it modular. A lot of our out of the box products are actually built for you to be able to make changes to, whether you consider a script customization, sure, but we have scripted extension points for that. There's a reason that our spokes are read-only and we let you copy them and then work on them. Virtual agent topics. There's so much that we talk about, whether it's custom or not. It's doing it in a way that's supported, that's known, that is standard design patterns. I know, Jeremy, you could jump into that even more, but that way, if someone else has to absorb that responsibility, they can either choose this makes sense to keep for what we have now, or it's very easy to unwind. And I think we fall, unfortunately, into the victim of the age of an instance and how the product's transformed and technology that hasn't like been updated and kept along with it, which then creates a web of unwinding. So I think we probably all have a great example of something that is a business smart customization, but my biggest thing is being able to add it or remove it in a very agile fashion.
Yeah.
Real quick, bolt on versus embed. That's the way I kind of analogize it.
Yeah. And that's a very important part, because I know that sometimes I'm guilty of speaking technically. This is a customization, but there's a big difference between me going into a high risk script include and rewriting it versus adding a column.
Yeah.
And I have really focused a lot on socializing those two differences while still being accurate towards it. So
also, custom versus customization are very different things. If you built something ground up, that's different than modifying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, you say bolt on versus embed, and the way we try and talk about it is buy versus build. You have a lot of great things out there in the ServiceNow store. If you can leverage the store for some of the capabilities you're looking for out there to extend, like we see this a lot on the security operations side, because there's like a billion tools for security operations things. But going out there, if you had to build something specifically for each one of those, you would lose your mind, and your platform would just be a mess on top of those things. So it's actually smart architecturally to go out there and understand when not to build and when to go out there and look for what's available in the community already.
Yeah, which is a call for all you architects. It makes our jobs that much harder. You've been around the platform for the tenure that we have on this call, and you remember the days where you could wrap your arms around the capabilities, and they're endless and they're growing, and the plumbing's changing. If you haven't been following the posts, catch up, keep up. If you can go to knowledge or at least look at what's coming, pay attention, because you're going to do your customers a huge disservice by not keeping up with what's available out there. If I had $1 for every instance I've looked at that still does things with scripted business rules and things that have been replaced with other functionality over the years, I'd be rich. And that's where we get a bad rap, if I'm being honest. Like, it's good to know what's coming. I can't stress to just stay on top of things. And I know it's hard, but there's good AI out there that'll help you keep up. So,
speaking of AI, Shalini, let's talk about how AI agents and skills can help us out here.
I think in terms of now orchestration, where we are going to try and understand what agents are able to help us with search results, for example, or using out-of-the-box orchestrating actions. That's where we can get away from moving us to a more robust way of working in terms of us not customizing, because we've got so much inbuilt within the tool. So yeah, I could let Jeremy respond more to that one.
Well, we only have an hour, so. But we do have a question from Jeremy. So his question is, what is ServiceNow doing to make it easier to go back to the baseline while retaining the needed customizations? And I know that's a bit of a conflict. So I'd like to set the stage of that, and let's rephrase it a bit to be more about how can I get closer to the baseline while still delivering the outcomes that those previous customizations did. Jeremy?
My response is maybe it's a little too simplistic or no duh, but my thought is that's why we have version control, right? We can compare code, right? So if I've got a script I've written, ServiceNow's updated, used to the best practice, and I had to change over the years in my CMA course, was copy the script, make your own, kind of like what we're doing with other out of the box components like skills and prompts that are out of the box. You got to go copy and create your own. It's hard to have that version control with those things, right? But with scripts, I mean, to me, it's you have a comparison. You have to understand what we're doing with the new stuff, right? So you may have to go test that out in another instance or whatever, but you can see what the enhancement was, see what you changed, and then see if it's something that you need to back out, something that you maybe need to comment out and see how ServiceNow is doing it. So I don't know if anybody sees that any differently, but that's my quick answer. So
I agree too. I think a big struggle, I'm going to plug, right? I'm on the impact team here, right? But that's a big reason that ServiceNow picked up Bravium. There's a first mindset of you have to know what your technical debt is, right? If you're inheriting the platform, I mean, how many of us have been a customer and then left that in someone else's hands that's maybe new or has gotten hired? I think visibility is a part of it. And understanding is a part of it, to say, how do we know what's been affected, what's been touched, then using the tools we have to do comparisons and understanding what maybe suggested best practices are. I think a lot of it comes with visibility and understanding to support it. I think, Jeremy, your question roots in also retaining needed customizations. There's a part of me that says if a customization is still needed, but it's a lot of technical debt, you can rebuild it in a better way. Like it's all about effort and value. If it's impacting you and you need it, rebuild it rather than just choose how do I work around it to keep it if it's still not architected well.
There is a thing that ServiceNow has now, and you guys probably know what I'm saying, but there is a revert to base capability that's out there for ServiceNow. So if you really wanted to go back, there is a way to go back to baseline and also retain your customized setups in there with file skipping and things like that. But there's a way to do that. Plus, you have a lot of the merges and things that are out there that will help you retain those settings as you continue to use your baseline capabilities. So ServiceNow is actually making it easier to go back to baseline from wherever you are now. That wasn't historically the case.
Yeah, even for global apps now, you can repair them and see compared customizations. Like SPM is a great one, Josh. I've had people want to go straight out of the box, but they're like, we implemented it 6 years ago and ripped it apart. The repair functionality at least points out a lot of what was changed or what you need to go back to.
Yeah, and you've got health scans and stuff that are in there now. You can use all of those different tools to help understand what your environment looks like, what the platform looks like, where you would want to retain those configurations and customizations and where you wouldn't. So there's a ton of tools in there to help you align to that back to baseline approach while continuing to retain the needed customizations if they're truly needed, right? I think that you have to really ask, if you're going back to baseline, are those customizations really something that we need to keep?
Yeah. And it's kind of just to put a cherry on the top of this is really, Mike said it, Jeremy said it, Will said it, you all, changes within what's there out of box or baseline. You have that version control. I don't care how much documentation you have, that is the easiest way to identify on an upgrade when things are deviating, right? Or may impede what is coming with this upgrade or update to a plugin. You're not going to scour through, documents and documents and documents every time you do an upgrade. The point of an upgrade is to make it as efficient as possible.
Right.
Have that documentation as your reliable back source, right? To understand when you need to dig in. Upgrades or updates are not really the time to have to do that. I mean, if you like to do that, go for it. I don't know that I would ever want to, but there's really that key. It's just a trigger. It's to see, hey, I've got all of these things. The one, and I would love to hear who those on the podcast, what you think about this. But the one challenge I say is more in the workspace areas, because it is that compare feature. Yeah, not so great, right? Okay, what changed in this JSON blob? Do you know how to read that? I don't know how to read that very well.
Josh, that's actually a great reason where our normal guidance, like Jeremy was saying, is to edit the out of the box. However, workspaces function around variants. You do copy and modify. That is the whole reason. And the reason behind that too is some components, especially in some of our more advanced workspaces, aren't configurable or editable. They're built for purpose. SPM is a great example. We've got beautiful, roadmap, like drag and drop, like time editing. You're not going to be able to customize that component. So if you want to change little things, you create a variant for it.
And Jacques, I think you also
I was thinking that as architects, we should also promote maybe something we could call like as removable by design. Like when you design the functionality at first, you must keep in mind that at some point you might want to remove it, and the technical choices you will make should take that into consideration. And maybe the second part is, I've seen some customers doing that. If you're working in sprints, you could also decide to book 20% of your capacity to remove all stuff. And so it becomes a routine or something you do on a continuous basis, as opposed to just say, oh, let's get back to baseline as a project. I think it's a lot easier if you book ahead some capacity to do that, if and when possible, of course.
Jacques, you see the explosion in my back. That my head just exploded there. I'm sorry. I'm like, that is so brilliant. You think about inch or a mile. You're inching every sprint now, rather than having to run, a marathon when everything is needing to be revised and just, oh wow, sorry, that's great.
Yeah, definitely. We have a few comments to get through. So Shrikar, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Business smart customization for me in ServiceNow is configuring with intent, not customizing by instinct. Definitely great. Alex Graham, also fellow CMA, he always asks the why when someone says a customization is needed. And if you had to solve today for the outcome, would you do it the same way? Another thing I tack on to that is, are you going to pay for it? Because I try to get like, who's put up or next.
Yeah.
And Cohen again says that only with domain separation are you able to do process separation and keep that out of the box configuration.
Most of the time.
I'll add to that.
I would say CSM is a perfect example of where that's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every case gets a new scope, I guess.
I think it's application extension now, if we like to use our terminology from CMA, right? It's how do I take functionality that I like and branch it? Don't build in the base, create two branches, and you can separate your process. I think it's that same thought of how much is the process really differing, and is the process different in the system or on paper? Because does it need to be a process step is another consideration. I think we often try to drill everything into being a checkbox or a next step or a notification. It's like, does it have to be? I think I come from a CSM background, like Jeremy said, CSM before it was CSM. And I think there's always an opportunity to say, how do we do process configuration? And it's often by extending the current functionality and not building on the base level.
So SPM has rolled out playbooks for projects and coming demand. That is another great way of being able to not change the core capability or functionality of an application, but drive the intended process that you need to do. And it brings in, it'll redirect you. It will bring in fields that are already existing on those forms or anything, and allow you to fill them in just within that scope of that step. Approvals in and out, if I don't need them. You have decision trees, all of that. when you think about differing of processes, playbooks is a fantastic thing. If you have not read about it or anything, it's been around for quite a while, but it's getting a lot of traction right now. And sorry, Shalini, I talked over you.
No?
Oh, good.
Go
No, I
ahead.
was just going to add on to Mike's comment about CSM. We've just seen it with the extension of the task table and it hitting the 1,000 field limit, because I think there's a consideration about using that out of the box and just adding on processes to that and flows instead of trying to customize and use a subtype.
Did you say 1,000? You hit 1,000? I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yes, I've seen some customers just hit that.
Yeah, and that goes back to the governance piece. So we always need to make sure we're going in, and even if it's just another column, that corporate or enterprise attitude can put you into a place where the whole task table can collapse. And you kind of reminded me of a project years ago I was on where that happened. And when task collapsed, everything off of it collapsed. And because they were, well over 1,000 at that point, and then unwinding that was, I don't even want to go back there.
And that just goes back all the way to understanding what you're trying to do at the beginning and doing a proper analysis.
One other piece that I consider too is, when was this artifact last updated? If this is something that has not been updated since 2012, I have a lower threshold to make the value. I have a lower threshold of value to reach in order to justify updating it, because the chances of it being changed are much less than something that was edited or added in the baseline in the last 3 years, which sparks an interesting idea. It would be nice where the first thing I click on is acknowledging a safe harbor. So I just want to get that out of the way. But to see what artifacts in the baseline, grouped by product, and also so I can search by artifact sysID, are currently under review or being updated by ServiceNow in a plan for some sort of release. Again, with a safe harbor, no guaranteeing it will be, but that could help me make those decisions a little easier. If I could plunk in a sysID, this business rule or this script include, and see, that is on Australia's roadmap, then I'm going to leave it, type of a thing.
I love the thought or concept of that. I
have a ton of great ideas that other people
should do. It's a great idea,
do.
right? But all of the products that are now scoped apps, plugin based, right? They're quarterly released, and just working so closely with all of our products and the product teams in the BU, I've said things that are supposed to be, that quarter, and 2 days ago changed that it's now 2 more quarters out. And it's like, sorry, that just made my mind go, oof.
Well, it isn't. That's why the safe harbor's there.
Yes,
that's
right,
why they say, so it is not to make an entire business decision, but it would give me more information than I have now. Absolutely. To help maybe shape something. If I for sure see it's not ever on a roadmap anywhere, that's going to be different than it might be in the next year.
Did you put your idea in the portal there, Chris?
Fine. I'll type it
out there for you.
I will submit it because I have a ton of great ideas that I think other people should build.
And if anybody else thinks that's a great idea, here's the trick. Everybody go put that in the idea portal. Okay. So let's hit them hard.
I do like that, though, Chris, because it brings up a very common challenge with me in product excellence, because we're not part of product, but we're working with our customers as a liaison to products, right? And when they ask about, and everybody's heard this that has done any type of an implementation, what is this something that is going to be changed or enhanced because it doesn't necessarily meet the needs? You think about product rollout, they know what they know when they roll it out. And then it's a feedback loop to ensure that they're hitting the majority of the use cases. So there are things that are quickly or constantly changing that if you do put something in, just be aware of. And then there's also this new feature. I don't know how new, because I didn't realize it until about a year and a half or 2 years ago, that there's a replace on update. So if you have update sets that have updates in it, there's a hidden field. Well, it's not displayed, but it's replace on update. And you check that box in that update, and when that script include or that anything gets updated with an upgrade or a plugin update, it will actually then replace it.
Really?
Yep.
Is that in the CSA Delta?
I wonder how many people click that option. Probably why it's hidden.
Yeah. Well, this
Seems
is
risky.
It's typically used for like early release stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know, it's interesting because one of the things you want to look at, we were talking about governance a little bit, how to measure that stuff, but when we're talking about things like platform drift, you can use it to establish some technical KPIs, some technical debt KPIs for what you're doing. So when you look at things like skipped updates during each upgrade, you can start to look at where the platform is starting to lose its agility on those things. So that's interesting to know. I didn't know that was in there either.
Yeah, that is cool. I'm going to look that up too.
Yeah,
Try that.
I think it's a good idea to start looking at how you're managing your updates and upgrades, and then start looking at your platform health at every iteration.
Okay, well, let's shift into the next gear and start talking about drivers that ensure success when you're trying to realign to the baseline. Shalini?
So I think one of the ones that I would start to look at is clear business outcomes. What do I want to achieve from what I'm trying to do? So tie that back to your business metrics, risk reduction, productivity, cost. So prioritize that based on value. And I think we just spoke about that a lot. The other is, I think, a strong active governance, because you want to be able to ensure that you're adopting first before you're adapting. So if we have governance, we check through technical governance forums or boards why you'd want to do a customization before a configuration. So I think, that adopt first mindset with clear governance to create or drive the speed, the stability, manageability of the platform to reduce that technical debt. And then business smart adaptation is the other thing. As we said, there will be instances and lots of scenarios where you'd have to think about customization in certain situations. So it's when you start to think about bringing that in. Does anyone want to add to that?
Yes, I think Jacques.
Yeah. Based on my experience, what I've seen as well is, and Jeremy, you touched a bit on that, the things that could be removed because of new features. But what I have seen, so we're running a technical governance board where I work right now, and you see solutions architect coming with super complex things that actually already exist on the product. So which leads me to that thinking. We have to make sure that, obviously, I think we're doing that, but making sure that our architects and developers, they stay in touch. Yes, they do the deltas and stuff, but there must be an intent of learning the new things, being aware of what's coming. And especially for ServiceNow practitioners that have been around for a long time, what I'm seeing, they keep doing the same things, the things they learned 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they keep doing the same thing. They do not want to adopt decision tables, flows, playbooks. They keep doing script includes only or business rules. And I think learning or keep learning all the time is a success factor in me, because that means you can also adopt the new things as opposed to just redoing the things you already know. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, one of the questions I ask in the CMA panel is just to get people to interact with me, really. But I'll ask workflow editor versus flow designer. And some people don't even know what flow designer is anymore because we've rebranded everything. But it's funny that the people that I still get that are workflow editor diehard, it's very few. It used to be, half and half, and then it was like maybe a quarter. And now it's just a few, but it's just funny, just the arguments that I get for using that over Flow Designer. So
if you need a wait for.
I do also think
Workflow
something that
editor.
Jacques was kind of stating, right, is like engineers that still are building. I also think we're seeing a bit of a transformation in our
Yeah.
organizations that are using ServiceNow, where it's less engineering oriented and more product owner mindset. I really do think the point is to understand the product and its capabilities rather than understanding, what can be built or what can be designed. And I think having that barrier, and you can do it by workflow, by product, you scale with your organization. But the whole goal is like this person who understands what the product can do before you decide like what it can't do. And I think that's a big core too.
That is going to be a fundamental shift here in the very near future. Now that we have Build Agent and a lot of the hook-ins with Anthropic and MCPs and things like that, like the creator community is about to explode, because it's not just going to be your historical developer coder guys that are going to be able to do things anymore.
Did you see Nicola's post today, Will?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you hadn't seen Nicola Attico's post or don't follow him, he talked about the new SDK that's coming out, us internally. And I'm sure plenty of customers have been screaming about, Build Agent just building UI pages. It's like, when's it going to build me a workspace? Because that's what all my people use. When's it going to build me a portal? When's it going to build, this, that, and the other thing? And it's coming, y'all. Yeah. Australia.
I mean, all that stuff is coming. And there's ways around those things now. Like if you wanted to hook up your Claude Code stuff to your instances and things like that, you can do that, right? Like you have those tools at your disposal. So like, we're talking about customization versus configuration and baseline and things, and you can explode that real fast.
It's going to be a whole world of customization.
It is.
Yep. But then isn't AI going to manage that? And then the AI managers manage the AI.
I visualize a world of beyond. I know we're in future here. I'm sorry, Chris. I don't mean to
Safe harbor.
Yeah. No, I envision a world, and this has nothing to do I don't think so with where we're going with product, but it may be. So if I speak it into existence, awesome. But I envision a world, we acquired MoveWorks, and the whole idea is to give people that front end that they're used to right now, right? Everybody's going into whatever their LLM of, their Chat GPT or whatever of choice, Claude, Grok, whatever, and they're getting things done. Right? Whether it's editing a picture, cropping someone out. So they're doing design tool things, whether it's, hey, take this roster and resort, whether it's stuff you would do in Excel, it doesn't matter. They're doing it in there and they're testing the limits, and people want that in ServiceNow. So MoveWorks is going to accomplish some of those things. But what I think is still missing, and we'll probably see in the future, near future, is this world where, Sally, who sits in the corner and does this little thing every day, and can't get the dev team to build her a proper workspace or whatever to do it in because it's backlogged or whatever. Although I would argue it's easier on ServiceNow to get it done. It'll still get done, but there's a lot of things getting done on ServiceNow. So depending on how big your team is. But what about a world where she can come in and just create that experience herself, right? It's applied to some corporate standard guidelines or whatever, but why not her prompt? Give her the power to prompt a dashboard and a portal pay or whatever, right? Whatever means you're going to deliver that. I would propose a React page, but like give her the flexibility to have her workspace or work environment the way she wants it, and don't put guardrails around that. Now, as a platform owner, I can see the struggle with that is like, well, what about when Sally's page breaks, right? What are we gonna do about that?
Whose problem is that? Is that my fault or is it Sally's fault or what?
And I think kind of like what we experienced with the pandemic. We set rules and they come out of left. Like you're gonna create an environment, and people are gonna adapt to it. They're gonna understand that, hey, this is not the typical way we do things. And so, Sally, we're gonna give you the power to build that page, but if it breaks, it's on you. Just get back in there and prompt out another page and just ditch that one, right? So then what's that going to be? The leave behind? Do we give them the ability to just, there's a lot of things that'll come with that, but folks, that's where we're at. That AI, we're in this space now. We're here. We got to adapt to that. And so that's even a charge for us, and that I'm saying even internally as a company, we got to remember that that's what folks want. And we got to give it to them. And I hope it's coming. We'll see. So, and I know nothing. I'm not speaking of anything that I know of. I'm just get that out there.
We don't believe you.
You put on the idea there, Jeremy.
I'm just a dunce. Nobody tells me anything in here.
It's the Jade disclaimer.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about how we politely push back to the business and get them to swim with the ServiceNow current rather than against it.
Just say no.
Yep. That works 100%.
That's a good way to make sure that nobody comes to
Sorry,
the next
Alex is
demand
rubbing
meeting.
off on me. His humor is rubbing off.
Yeah.
I do think it comes back to something I said earlier is don't try to solve the problem, try to understand why it's a problem, right? Like if you as an architect, you need to understand how to build something. It's like, okay, I want to have the business explain everything they need to me for me to say this is a good solution. If we can't get to that point, you can justify it by the things that there still are gaps. It's not a no, it's like, here's what I need to be able to like agree with this solution or agree with this need. So I think it's just relating to them, understanding where they're coming from, and then having them also be the ones to explain it to you. I think we lose a lot sometimes. This is a point with workshops. It's not always about what people answer. It's about how they answer, how they get to that answer, and understanding how they're approaching the answer helps us as architects not only design a solution that solves the problem, but helps us design and understand the right problem.
I think one of the fundamental Chris, there we go. One of the fundamental challenges that I always see too is there's a lot of business requirements that aren't actually business requirements. They're technical solutions that the business is handing you, right? Yes. And as good stewards and implementers or whatever role you play in this part, digging into and making sure that you are actually getting business requirements. Like think about the outcomes. Think about just asking why the five times, right? Giving you a list of fields that they need on a form is not a business requirement. It's just not, and that's, and people do that all the time. They say, we need all of this, but why? You're burying yourself or not doing yourself justice if you don't at least ask the why and understand, right? Reporting. Yeah. There's a lot of times, and I've heard this more than I would like to have. Well, I could do a spreadsheet or an Access database and get what I need out of it. Why can't ServiceNow? Because ServiceNow is a platform with a workflow engine and process embedded into the technology that's enabling it. And it's not just a dummy spreadsheet. And if you want a very, very expensive spreadsheet, then you can have it that way, but don't do it. And then the reality is you are only going to be able to guide them so far. In the end, if somebody screams louder or leadership says, just do it, document it, explain the risks and document those. And then just, there isn't an easy answer to that last part, unless somebody else has some thoughts on that.
No, I like Mike's, to support this, here's what I need. I really like that because it's a positive based approach.
You don't have to say no if they can't. It's like the burden of proof in court, right? It's like you don't have to prove them wrong if they can't prove you right. Like it's just one of those things. It's all psychology.
Do you find, Mike, that causes more work because then I have to run a workshop for 2 hours and show
I think I'm going to tell you from experience, 6.5 years of doing this with our customers, our top customers, is I believe you spend less time. Workshop usually has a negative connotation because it takes time, but I would argue that it saves more time by spending time looking at, it's real simple. What's the current state? Let's interview people that are in that current state. And in that interview process, let's make sure we understand current state, get future state desired, swing back around, do a future state workshop. Let's dream about what the future could be. Don't even talk about technology. It's all there. They'll tell you, hey, I have to integrate with this, or I have to swivel chair and look at these 15 screens. And as an architect, you're thinking, okay, here's how we're going to fix this. Okay. But don't say it. Get to the future state. And then when they give you this vision and you come back and have a solution, guess what you're solutioning? You're solutioning their idea. It came directly from their minds. You're able to synthesize what they came up with. Now you have a co-created end solution that's their idea. And how are they going to argue with that? Nobody has to say no at this point. And if they say no, they're saying no to their own ideas, right? Not every customer is willing to do that. I'm not being naive. I know some customers will come to you and say, I'm paying you. You're the expert. You know banking. You know retail. You know all this stuff. You tell us what we need. But the reality is they know what they need. They know what they want. They know what their desired outcome is. They might need your expertise to sprinkle in there, right? But in the end, you're co-creating a solution that's going to work best for them.
Yeah, I think it's also like workshops, the value there is alignment and trust. It's not actually the work from workshops, it's that understanding. But the second piece is I don't push back on people's business needs. I don't run their business, but I push back if they're bringing me solutions to their problems. That's an architect's here to design for you, right? It's the same reason we have architects designing skyscrapers for people that need them, because I'm not going to go build a skyscraper or design it, right? Because I don't understand it, but I might have a need for an office. I think that's the difference is I don't push back on needs necessarily because it's not my business, but I push back when you come to me with the solution already.
And I think Shalini wanted to add something there too.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think with complex requests where customers want to see some tangible evidence, then we go into options and present some tangible values to showcase if I did this, then based on our analysis, there's the cost benefit of doing this. So presenting something tangible as evidence. Obviously, if it's a small request, you would push back with a reasoning.
It's always,
Okay, we've got a few. Oh, go ahead. Finish.
I was gonna say it's always better to take kind of a data-driven approach. I think people like to see not just empirically why, but here's the data behind why I'm saying what I'm saying. So sometimes that means you have to do a little bit more homework, but that's okay.
True.
I'd rather do
We
that.
have a bunch.
Fight with something down the road. I'll shut up now.
No, not trying to shut you up. I was trying to not talk over you. That has been something I've been trying to focus on the last couple of months because I got caught doing that a few times. So we got a bunch of comments. Sabrina mentions that you have to change how your brain thinks when moving from legacy workflow to Flow Designer. So this is a bit of a callback to the previous topic. Alex has a ton of comments. I'm not going through all of those. Thanks, Sabrina. You can text me if you want to.
This is
give
not
me
the
crap
only
for
place
that.
he has a ton of comments, Chris.
Yeah. Ashton says that there's friction when adopting new functionality that does not work on par with existing modules, and it can take a while to get back to incorporating this, especially if those fixes burn you on a client engagement, or if they can take a long time before the feature parity is achieved. For example, data certification took several rounds before they could even attempt it on a client engagement. So I think, sometimes people forget when a new product comes out that, you're cutting edge. And sometimes that means you bleed a little bit or a lot, and you'll learn and grow with the product as much as everybody else. Jared has a bunch of comments talking about having an analyst to translate certain pieces for you. And she talks about there's always a pie in the sky ask. And as an analyst, she tries to translate to the developer on what the wish is, but customers will always ask, especially if they have an intimate connection with the depths. I really liked what Mike had said, though, about pushing back if they come with a solution. You can come up to me with an outcome, but if you come with an outcome plus a solution, it is rarely right. I'll just be direct. It is rarely the best way for you to do that. Or in some cases, there's a huge piece missed, like, oh, nobody thought about security. Okay, well, that's tear down and rebuild again, right? So just wanted to call those out. Thank you so much for all of the comments. Alan Dust says the XY problem. I'm not sure I fully understand what that one is. But if anybody does, though, feel free to comment on that. Okay. So we've talked about pushing back. Jeremy, you'd also mentioned something about the tangible piece, including Figma.
Yeah, when we talk about customers are going to come to us and they have an idea, right? We work together, we co-create on a solution. Oftentimes we have to go back and there's always a show me, right? And depending on where you're at in the cycle, sometimes that show me is hop into dev and build something so I can see it, right? We have been talking about most recently from Amy Loki, we talked about the ability to connect Figma, MCP to Build Agent and push a design from Figma to build agent and have it build it. I will tell you that it works. It's not gonna be answer all your hopes and dreams, not right now, but it's getting there, right? But we're cutting edge in that space. But what I would encourage you to think about is, as you're trying to dream up solutions with your customers and you find that it's hard to go turn that around in short order on platform, familiarize yourself, especially if your organization pays for it, but it's worth paying for it for yourself, to get with Figma. Get into Figma and use their Make product. You can sync that with our Horizon design library, and it will do, and just to forewarn you, it will interpret what the design library says. By the way, that technology is changing. It's going to get a little bit more one-for-one over time. But right now it gets you really close. And you guys are all platform experts. You know what this platform looks like. You can still tweak it and tune it, but it gets you really close to putting something in front of a customer where you could say, hey, here's a workspace, and here's this functionality, and here's a playbook, and here's how Now Assist would work and launch, and here's how I would answer your questions. Does that feel right? Is that the kind of experience that you want? And they'll say yes or no, and then you can tweak, right? Without having to go in and blow up, get a sandbox environment, get your PDI, move stuff over. Figma's powerful, y'all. I've been using it a lot here with some of our customers, and it's been working really well. So
great. Sorry to cut it short. We are at time, so thank you all for joining us. So we're going to go around and let everyone kind of give a brief update on anything interesting that they're working on that they wish to share. So Mike, you're first.
Yeah, so I'm actually located in Denver, Colorado, and on Tuesday we have Denver's AI Summit. And so I'm holding actually 2 roundtables at the AI Summit to talk about Now Assist across several different products, and then CMDB and CSDM being foundations to our platform and our new agentic solutions.
Nice. That's interesting. Jacques.
Yeah, working with my business stakeholders, trying to expand the platform wherever I can.
Josh, the ghost of Josh Sutton.
I don't know. I'll figure it out on the next one, Chris. I'm actually going to be at Government Forum next week at the Gaylord Convention Center, and on Friday of the conference, I will be taking part in a SPM lab. So showing all of that good stuff. And if you're in the public sector, higher ed, or local government, come on out. I'll be there.
Is that Nashville, Josh?
Nope, it's Maryland, or it's Washington D.C., but it's really.
Oh, you said Gaylord. That was
Gaylord
Nashville.
National Harbor.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I'll clarify.
Gotcha.
And Shalini, she's joined us for her first episode. So what do you work on?
Yeah, it was excellent being here from Sydney. Thank you very much for having me. We'll continue to work with the architecture team at ServiceNow, trying to just enable AI. That is the flavor of the year. So go AI. Thank you.
Will. Thank you.
I'll be speaking at an executive roundtable in March about AI adoption with ServiceNow. But I wanted to give a shout out to Julian Mills. I know he's pretty soon. So I just want to say thanks, Julian, for everything. Appreciate you for all that you've done for the community. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Julian. So
yeah, we all feel the same.
Yeah, everybody owes him a huge thanks for taking on from Lucy after that, and definitely. Everyone moves on with their career. We miss you, Julian, and wish you nothing but the best for that. And now, Jeremy, before you go, I've got a question, because this could be something you would do. But did you get the ServiceNow little logo thing burned into your carpet, and then you put a light underneath? Or is that a background?
That's a cool feature tool called OBS. I can move it around.
Oh my God! Of course, he's got something to show off.
virtual camera and then OBS, absolutely.
Yeah, OBS is great. You can do all kinds of overlays.
That is awesome.
So you should see me at Knowledge. I just got the mock-up of the interactive display that we'll be doing. So if you see me at the last couple of Knowledges, I've been working on Gen AI since it was fresh and brand new. And so we've iterated on that demonstration, and I'm cooking up some fun stuff for us to put our hands on. Hopefully some stuff that's coming that you'll hear about in April, and then you'll see demonstrated at Knowledge. But it's on the topic of some of the things we've been talking about today, and I think you're gonna like the experiences that we have. So if you're in Vegas, come see me.
That's great. Okay. Yeah, and you can always see him at the Genius Bar, right?
Right. Yeah, I'll float around.
Yeah, I usually hang out there for a little bit.
Look for the LED backpack. I'm sure I'll be wearing it.
That's true. Move it around like you did the thing. My name is Chris, again, hosting the CMA Panel Podcast America's Edition. Thank you for spending some extra time with us. This is one of the rare times we've gone over the 1 hour. Appreciate everybody. Today is February 27th, 2026. So hope that the only thing better than your Friday is your weekend. Thanks so much, and